Hey, this is Pastor Bunjee Garrett, and I want to take some time today to present you with another word of encouragement. Well, as we continue watching the state of Israel fighting this multi-front war against the Iranian regime and their proxy armies, there should be no doubt that this conflict, it's far from over. To prove my point, I want to consider a statement recently made by one Iranian general who declared this, and I quote, "This is our final message to the Zionist regime and the delusional president of the U.S. If Iran's national interests and assets are violated once again, our response will be different, more crushing, and more devastating this time, in a way that it will accelerate the process of downfall of the Zionist regime." Now, as we consider this statement, there's good reason for us to believe that this war between Israel and Iran, it's far from over. Here's how Lieutenant Colonel Robert Maginnis, he explains it in this way by declaring, and I quote him here, "The headlines may proclaim a ceasefire, but let us be clear. The Israeli-Iranian war is far from over. What we are witnessing is not peace. It is a tactical intermission. The guns may be momentarily silent, but the war remains alive in motive, method, and mindset." That's right, this war that Iran started back in 1979 when their new theocratic government identified Israel as a major enemy, this war is most certainly not over, and it won't be until the current Iranian regime is destroyed and dethroned. With all this as the goal, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he's preparing to meet with President Trump this coming Monday as they prepare to make plans concerning Iran as well as Gaza. And meanwhile, the Grand Ayatollah, who is the most important Shiite cleric in the entire world, he just issued a fatwa against Donald Trump by declaring him to be an enemy of God, which is effectively an order of execution. At the same time, we continue to see the so-called conservatives, like Candace Owens, accusing Israel of engaging in genocide. As a matter of fact, it was last week on the Piers Morgan show when Owens declared this, and I quote her here, "Israel has been a terrorist state. Okay? Israel right now is imparting a genocide and a Holocaust on the Gazan people. So I'm really over this idea like somehow Israel has the moral high ground and we have to get behind them because we have to go after the bad guys." So yeah, here we see, according to Candace Owens, Israel is the terrorist state, not Iran. They're the ones engaging in genocide as they commit a Holocaust on the people there in Gaza. Never mind the fact that Israel disengaged from the Gaza Strip 20 years ago. Never mind the fact that the Gazan government, better known as Hamas, is a terrorist organization which has been fighting Iran's proxy war against Israel since at least the early 1990s. Never mind the fact that Hamas has been launching rockets from the Gaza Strip at Israel since 1987. Candace Owens, in all her wisdom, she would have us to believe that the state of Israel is the terrorist state. Owens doubled down on her delusion by declaring, and I quote here, "It's rich to me that people are concerned about Iran having nukes. But I'm concerned about Israel, who won't even admit that they have nukes, having nukes while at the same time they are executing a genocide and a Holocaust in Gaza that the world is watching. So who's the bigger terrorist is the question today." Yeah, Candace Owens is less concerned about Iran having nuclear weapons, and she's more concerned about our ally, Israel, possessing nuclear weapons. The reason for her concern is because, according to her, Israel's executing genocide and a Holocaust in Gaza, and it's sad to say that her perspective is being embraced by many Christians who have been duped into embracing replacement theology. With that being the case, I want to take a moment to consider her concerns in light of the way that God has in the past used nations to punish other nations. I would first point out that our Creator, He's the King of Kings. He has the authority to raise up rulers. He has the authority to remove them. Paul confirmed this in Romans chapter 13 by informing us that there is no authority except from God, and that the authorities that exist are appointed by God. In Acts chapter 17, Paul also assured the philosophers in Athens that God has made from one blood every nation of men to dwell on all the face of the earth, and has determined their pre-appointed times and the boundaries of their dwellings, so that they should seek the Lord in the hope that they might grope for Him and find Him, though He's not far from each one of us. That's right, our Creator is the one who has providentially created the nations. He's providentially appointed their times and the boundaries of their dwellings. And not only that, but every student of the Bible is also aware of the way in which the Lord is able to raise up nations to punish other nations. He can raise up a righteous nation to punish an evil nation. He can even raise up an evil nation to punish an evil nation. For example, the Lord raised up the nation of Israel to punish the evil Canaanites. And the reason why? They refused to repent of their sexual perversions and the worship of their idols through child sacrifice and other abominations. And I can't help but to wonder, if Candace Owens were alive back then, would she have been opposed to the genocide of the Canaanites? I'm guessing so. I should also remind you of the way that the Lord raised up the Assyrians to come in and punish the northern tribes of Israel. And after that, he raised up the Babylonians to punish the southern kingdom of Judah. After that, the Lord raised up the Medo-Persian Empire to conquer the Babylonians, and all of this according to his plan to free his chosen people from their captivity. Without debate, the Lord is the one who providentially uses nations to punish other nations when it's time for them to be punished. The Lord is the one who raised up the Romans to punish the Israelites for their rejection of our Redeemer. And after nearly 2,000 years of exile, the Lord then raised up the allies to free the Jews from the access of evil. That's right. The Lord is the one who used the United States and France and Great Britain, even the Soviet Union, to free the children of Israel from their captivity. He's the one who brought them back into the land of their inheritance according to his prophetic promises. With all that being the case, there should be no doubt that the Lord is the one who has empowered his people to gain the victory against their enemies. We saw this in 1948 during Israel's War of Independence. We saw this in 1956 during the Suez Crisis. In 1967, we saw it again during the Six-Day War, and in 1973 during the Yom Kippur War. In 1982, we saw this during the First Lebanon War, and again in 2006 during the Second Lebanon War. Since then, we've watched as the Lord empowered the state of Israel to continue gaining the victory against all of their enemies, including Iran and all their proxy armies. Listen, when Candace Owens and her ilk accuse Israel of executing genocide and Holocaust in Gaza, these people are ignoring the fact that the God of the Bible is the one who has already revealed in his prophetic word that he's going to reestablish the nation of Israel in the last days and then use them to destroy the nations that try to divide up the land of the promise. For example, we find this in the 83rd Psalm, where the seer named Asaph prophetically points to the day when the armies of the nations that surround Israel are going to perish. And here's how he describes the destruction of this military confederation that will try to invade Israel and take the pastures of God for their own possession. Asaph declares, "Oh my God, make them like the whirling dust, like the chaff before the wind. As the fire burns the woods, and as the flame sets the mountains on fire, so pursue them with your tempest, and frighten them with your storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek your name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and dismayed forever. Yes, let them be put to shame and perish, that they may know that you, whose name alone is the Lord, are the Most High over all the earth." That's right, this military confederation that will try to take Israel for their own possession, this includes the nations that border the land of promise. And according to Asaph, they're going to be blown away like chaff before the wind. They're going to be burned to the ground like a forest fire. They're going to be put to shame and they're going to perish forever. And in this way, the Lord will help the world to see that he alone is the Most High God over all the earth. Sadly, there are many in the church today who have been deceived and duped into believing that God is done with the nation of Israel, and therefore Israel's multi-front war is somehow in conflict with God's will. If that's the case, then what this would also mean is that God is no longer the Most High over the earth. He's no longer ruling over the kingdoms of men. He's no longer the one who raises up nations and brings them down. Please trust me when I tell you that God is still the King of Kings. He's still the Lord of Lords, and he is the one who is providentially using the reestablished state of Israel to punish those who have tried to divide up the land of Israel's inheritance. Proof of my point is found in Joel chapter 3. Here the Lord declares, "For behold, in those days and at that time, when I bring back the captives of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will enter into judgment with them there on account of my people, my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. They have also divided up my land." Listen, the Lord is the one who made this promise. He's made the promise to punish the people who tried to divide up the land of Israel. And therefore, those who accuse the state of Israel of being terrorists who are engaging in genocide, Well, they're the ones who are actually opposing the prophetic promises that the Lord has presented in His holy word regarding the way that He is going to reestablish Israel and then use them to punish the nations that have tried to destroy His people. With that being the case, we'd all do well to agree with God concerning the prophetic promises that He's made about Israel. And at the same time, I also encourage every Christian, let's go out and proclaim the gospel message of our Messiah, Jesus Christ. Let's proclaim the good news to both Jew and Gentile alike so that we can help all of the unbelievers who are within our sphere of influence to trust in Jesus Christ so that they can escape the time of Jacob's trouble. And as we do, the Holy Spirit will help us to fight the good fight of faith, and all for the glory of God.